Like we were scrambling before the show started. You've got your dog. Cody's all over the place this morning.
So we got to make sure the dog. Not Cody.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Oh, I like that way better than Cody. Kobe, very needy this morning, but that's okay. Dogs have needs too, just like humans do. And we've got a lot of sports going on today. First of all, last night was insane. We finally had a game go to overtime in the NHL. Oh,
you're so excited about it. So excited about
it. And not only that, remember like 2 months ago, we got on this show. It was like right at the end of March. And we said, oh, by the way, the media basically just told you Nikola Jokic is going to win the MVP. And he's still like plus 150, plus 60. Go bet it right now. Well, if you did that yesterday, or you did that 2 months ago when we told you to, your patience was rewarded yesterday because he was announced the MVP. So exciting day. The NBA and NHL playoffs just don't stop, Lauren. It's like every night.
It's going to be really exciting. I know. We're breaking it all down. We're starting off, though, with our Better Up segment. Then we got some golf. We're having Diane Knox Balas on to talk about the AT&T Byron Nelson, and that's going to be really exciting. She gave out some really good bets last week, ended up with near misses, but had a 50-1 odd on what's his face? I don't even remember his name. That made it into the final day.
Last week was we had 3 live runners heading into the weekend, but they all kind of flamed out. But they were all 50, 60, 70, 100-1. Denny McCarthy, 100-1.
Amazing.
Brian Harmon was 66-1. Listen, with these long shots, you're not going to win every week. It ain't going to happen.
I know.
You just stay consistent, keep your unit sizes low, and you hope we spike one. Maybe we spike one this week.
There's something to be said about consistency at that point. Okay, before we get started with our show, because obviously we're going to get really deep into NBA, I have quite a few NHL picks. Yesterday I went 1-1. But I've been pretty hot with the NHL picks as of late. The last 3 days before that, went 2-2 on my picks. I have 6 NHL bets tonight. I went a little nuts. But you know what? It's fine. It's Tuesday. We're doing it. We're living large, baby. Living large. Before we start the show today, if you could sit down and have a beer with any athlete of all time.
Wait. Hold on. Time out. We need to preface this news. The reason why we're doing this is because of the Tom Brady news. Tell us about Tom Brady first before we get into this.
No, you tell us about Tom. You tell us about Tom Brady.
Big news this morning. Tom Brady is an announcer now. He is joining the ranks of the broadcasting department. He's our competition now. I'm just kidding. He's not our competition. It was big. Honestly, it happened just before the show. Tom Brady is now going when he retires. If he retires. I don't know. Maybe he won't ever retire.
He's going to play till he's 70, but other than that, it's fine.
Probably. But he has announced that Fox really has announced that he is going to be the lead NFL analyst alongside Kevin Burkhardt when he does indeed hang up his shoes. So the question I wanted to pose to you and also the chat today, first of all, is this is he going to be a good announcer? Second of all, for me,
of course he's going to be a good announcer.
I agree. I think he's.
Have you seen him on TikTok? Have you seen him on TikTok?
He's incredible.
His TikToks are freaking hilarious. He's going to be so good.
He is. He's going to be better than Romo, I think. But the question I really am curious for you too, because you do this. You do this every week. If you could call a game with any former athlete, dead or alive, who would you pick? For me, it's Jackie Robinson. I would love to get inside of his head and just kind of understand what he went through during those times and how he played the game and how he revolutionized the game. That would be my answer. I'm curious what yours would be.
Yeah, I was kind of marinating on it a little bit, and I don't have an answer for you right now because there's 10 different guys swirling around in my head at this point. Because then it's also you have to pick the sport, right? Do you do football? Do you do basketball? Do you do hockey? I have a couple hockey. What?
Dealer's choice.
It's tough. I know. The first one that comes to my mind is Gordie Howe.
That's a good one.
Or Bobby.
That's a really good
for hockey. Or Bobby Orr for hockey.
Yeah.
Just knowing what they did, what they were capable of doing. But then it's do I want to do hockey or would I want to call a game alongside someone a Michael Jordan or a Kobe Bryant? That would be kind of cool.
Michael Jordan would be interesting. Because to me, it's about when you're broadcasting a game, and you know this. Obviously, sports is mental. and physical. But when you're broadcasting a game, there's no physical. Like, you're just sitting there and you're broadcasting a game. So it's all about what's going on inside of your head. And some athletes, I think, have more going on inside of their head than others, a little more complex. Certain ones I think I'd be less interested in. I won't get to those. But Michael Jordan, I mean, talk about the all-time assassin. Like, take me through that mind. Kobe Bryant, same thing. Mamba mindset. Those would be two guys I'd be very interested in.
Yeah. So lots of different ones. I'll marinate on it and I'll get back to you with an answer later today or maybe tomorrow. Okay, let's get into the show. Better up. Yerfies, Nerfies. Yesterday, the no runs first inning went 6-5. They're now 215, 215, and 218 on the season. Now, if you bet all Nerfies, you're down 31.75 units. If you bet all Yerfies, you're down still 38.64 units. Now, the New York Yankees right now are the only team plus 10 units on either side, plus 10.87 units on the Nerfie. You have a Nerfie today. You have a Yerfie today. Tell me more about it.
Yeah,
I'm staying off of MLB today because I went heavy hitting on the NBA and NHL. So we'll get into those in a little bit. But you hold me down for the MLB segment, please.
Very smart. It's all about allocation. Lauren is allocating her bankroll today heavily towards NHL. She doesn't want to bet a whole lot of baseball. That's how I felt yesterday. I didn't bet any baseball yesterday. I had the morning off the show. I slept into like 11 a.m. Didn't even know where I was when I woke up. Missed out all of my morning baseball prep, and I said, screw it, I'm going to take the day off. That's not the case today. We've got 4 baseball bets, actually. One, we'll give you the Yerfie right now. And just a comment, too, on the Yankees. It's crazy that we're at the point in the season where the only team that is plus 10 units on either side of the Yerfie Nerfie is the Yankees' nose. Of all the – now, their pitching's been great, but their offense clearly not scoring a lot in the first inning. All right, we're going to go – speaking of offenses that have been scoring a little bit in the first inning of late, Brewers and Reds. And the Reds we've talked about on the show before. They were like the worst team in baseball for like a month. Now they're a little hot. They've won a few games in a row. But today they've got a tough pitching matchup against Freddie Peralta, who you think is a great pitcher. But when I looked at his Yerfie Nerfie numbers, he's made 5 starts this season. He's allowed a run in the first inning 4 times out of those 5 starts. He has good numbers against the Reds. 273 FIP, 167 batting average, 62 plate appearances. Not a huge sample size, but again, noteworthy. He's going up against Hunter Green, who has been this phenomenon for the Reds. He has incredible stuff, throws 100 miles an hour plus, but he's given up a run in 2 out of his 5 starts in the first inning, and he's given up a run in his only home start in the first inning. And how about these numbers against the Brewers? Granted, a very, very short sample size, just 16 plate appearances, but he's got a 23.68 FIP and a 533 batting average. He faced them last week. He got rocked, and that's why the numbers are elevated. Both of these teams have had good Yerfie streaks of late. Milwaukee had a 3 straight Yerfie streak, scored in all 3. The Reds had a 4 straight where they scored in all 3. These teams faced each other last week. They had 2 games where they both scored in the first inning against each other. And to me, Hunter Green, who is just a gas can, an 8.71 ERA, even though he's got a 12.63 Ks per 9, he is all over the place. And I'm getting plus 114 on this Yerfie over at FanDuel. And again, the strategy is the same. Plus money to the yeses. Try to find that when it's available because these are coin flips. So that's my only Yerfie on the card today in baseball.
I like it. And you're on 3 props, too. You've been loving these K props recently.
I do. And again, it's the strategy involved here. I talked about the differences between overs and unders. My K prop overs this year are down. 13 and 14 minus 2.45 units. About 48%. Nothing to write home about. K prop unders this year, I'm having a lot of success. 27 and 17. Over 61%, up almost 8 units. So we're going to keep trying to hammer that one home. I've got 3 of them for you today. One of them is probably going to be my best bet. I'll start with my favorite one, which this probably is going to be the pod. Martin Perez, under 4.5. He's projected for 2.8. Now, in his last 2 starts, lasted 7 innings each at Philly against Houston. 2 good lineups. But he only had 4 strikeouts in each of those starts. So he went 7 innings and only 4 strikeouts against 2, I would say, relatively decent lineups. He has really bad numbers against his current Texas lineup, 518 FIP, 300 batting average against a 14.1% K rate. And Kansas City doesn't strike out a lot. Second lowest K rate this year against lefties. second lowest walk rate. They don't score a lot of runs either. I think to me, this is just a Martin Perez fade more than it is a Royals fade. But the Royals do have a pretty low strikeout rate. I'm staying away from the outs number 2 here because, again, he's been going a lot of innings, but he hasn't been striking out a lot of batters. Yusei Kikuchi, under 4.5. Got this one at plus money over at FanDuel. Projected for 3.6. Coming off of a 7 strikeout start against the Yankees. What the hell are you doing, Jared? He just struck out 7 against the Yankees. Now you're betting under 4.5 against the Yankees again? That was his only start of over 4.5 strikeouts this season. And now this is the second consecutive outing that Kikuchi has to face this Yankees lineup, who was held to just 1 run yesterday. 5 hits against John Gray and the Rangers. Like, come on. No, I think we're going to see a bounce back from the Yankees lineup today. And they are the best hitting lineup, WRC plus, against left-handed pitching and a bottom 10K percentage. So we'll go Kikuchi under 4.5. Finally, Robbie Ray. Under 7.5, laying 34 cents at FanDuel, projected for 6.5. Robbie's got the Cy Young hangover, Lauren. You know how you feel that hangover after an amazing night out? That's Robbie Ray for the Young hangover.
Yeah, you hate those hangovers.
Yeah, Robbie Ray's got a bad one right now. Lowest K per 9 since his rookie year. He's only striking out 7.5 batters per 9 innings. He only made 6 starts in that rookie season with the Tigers, and his K per 9 is lower than any other season besides that. He stayed under this number 7.5 in 5 of 6 starts. He had 8 against Miami. All of his other starts have been 5 or fewer. And he has kind of numbers against the Phillies. He's at home tonight against Philly. A 418 FIP, 364 batting average, and just a 20.3% K rate in 64 plate appearances against the current Phillies. So not numbers. So the 3K props, Martin Perez under 4.5, Kikuchi under 4.5, Ray under 7.5. All unders today. Keeping it low in the strikeout numbers.
I know. Speaking of keeping it low, I know that's what a lot of these golfers want to do this weekend at the AT&T Byron Nelson. How do you like that transition? Let's bring in our very own Diane Knox Balas to talk a little golf heading into this weekend.
That was so good. You for your little golf segue.
It really was.
Speaking of going
we
low,
didn't
baby.
Plan that. I swear we didn't plan that.
My sport guys, but I just had to Google what a nerfy and a yurfy was, and I'm so proud of myself now that I'm adding to my knowledge.
That's what we do here on the show. Give you more things to chew on.
We're giving a little bit of everything, you know? Diane, you were like red hot last weekend going into the final day before some of those guys tapered out, but like you had guys at like 50 to 1, 60 to 1, 70 to 1 odds. How were you feeling?
I know it was good, and I had a tip to get Bradley who almost got it done, but it was it was great. Last week was a really good week, and the weather just played havoc with the guys, which was fortunate. But you know, champion obviously having but this week is going to be very different because we're off to Texas for the AT&T Byron Nelson in McKinney, just north of Dallas, and TPC Crunch is going to be a birdie fest. We're going to see, I mean, last year the winning score was like 25 under par. The cut was -6. So we're going to see guys going really low this week, and a great field because with the PGA Championship next week, guys are really fine-tuning their game ahead of the second major of the year.
It's going to be really exciting to see what some of these guys are capable of this weekend. And we're seeing a lot of big names here. Hey, sorry, that was my dog.
Mind you that too.
A lot of heavy hitters this weekend for the Byron Nelson Championship. A lot of big names. Do you think any of them can win it all? Or are you kind of like looking at maybe some, you know, outside names that we wouldn't necessarily expect?
This is, I mean, it's really interesting because this is the second year that they've been at TBC Craig Ranch, and last year Kate won. He was 200 to 1 heading into the weeks.
What?
I'm like, okay, well, we can shot. Yeah, 200 to 1. But then at the same time, it's really hard to see Scotty Scheffler, who lives here in Dallas, who's played the course so many times before. I think I see around about 7-1 this week. So he's the overwhelming favourite. And then you have stellar names like Dustin Johnson, Jordan Spieth, another Dallas guy. I'm big on this week, but because you have like the kind of headline guys, you're going to get higher over some of the middle guys. And that, as we said, KH Lee 200-1. It's definitely worth looking at the long shots.
Yeah, the long shots are always intriguing, and you're very good at finding some of those long shots. But at the top of your card this week is someone that listen, this guy, in my opinion, is going to win a lot of tournaments on the PGA Tour. Hasn't quite broken through yet fully, but maybe this is a good week for him because you have some anecdotal evidence that Will Zalatoris really likes this course. In fact, he's played it, quote unquote, you put in your article, hundreds of times. By the way, go read Diane's column. It's on Pickswise.com right now. So besides the anecdotal evidence that Willie Z loves playing here in TPC Craig Ranch, what are the other factors that lead you to him on the top of your card this week?
I mean, he is just having an incredible season and fantastic form. He almost won the Farmers Insurance Open at the start of the year, but just finished in a tie for 6th at the Masters. 5 top 6 finishes this year. And, when I was looking at what KH Lee did last year, he gained over 8 strokes on the field in approach play and 4.5 on the greens. And when it comes to approach, I mean, it's like the strength of Will's game. He's second on the tour in approach, 28th in birdie average. We know it's going to be a bit of a Texas shootout. So I just think that, Will Zalatoris hasn't got that win yet. And what a week to be fired up. He's got the home crowd there. And he's I think he will have seen what Scheffler has been doing lately as well. And Jordan Spieth. And these are guys that are, again, Dallas residents and people that he knows very well. And, Jordan just won. I think that's for him on a little bit as well. And would love to get that win in Dallas.
Speaking of Dallas, a guy that we know that is from there, Jordan Spieth, could he have an advantage playing maybe close to his hometown?
Yeah, definitely. I love Jordan Spieth this week. I think we were getting him around about 22-1 to win, and the same as well. I love Jordan. I mean, it's very hard. There's just something about Texas guys playing well in Texas. So we've seen Jordan win in Texas before. I love him this week as well, and I think that for Jordan, it's going to be getting sharp ahead of the PGA Championship, which is the only major that. So, yeah, I love Jordan again.
Yeah, Jordan's an interesting candidate every week. A couple of other guys on your card this week, and I'm noticing a theme, a Texas theme, maybe a little barbecue, cowboy boots, the whole kit and caboodle. Lonto Griffin, one guy that doesn't live in Texas, but won at the Houston Open. And also a guy that really likes to drive it really far. And this is the kind of course for it, right, Diane? Cameron Champ, one of the best drivers on tour. These guys are all long shots, 65, 80-1. You've got 2 guys that can win, that have proven that they can win, that they can be in the top 10 at least. But their numbers are pretty steep this week. Which one of these 2 guys you think you like more?
I love Cameron Champ, and we saw him, you mentioned the Mexico Open, he almost won. He had like a triple bogey on the 8th hole that kind of derailed his Sunday. But Vedanta Vallarta was, really wide fairways, not a lot of penalizing rough. And that's what we're seeing at TPC Craig Ranch as well. He finished in a tie for 6th at the Mexico Open. We saw him finish 10th at the Masters, well, which I think was a little bit kind of glossed over because that was just amazing for him. Cameron Champ goes through spells though. He'll play really well and then we won't hear from him for ages. We won't see him anywhere, and then he'll come back and he'll play, another few weeks really strong. So hopefully we're in that kind of upward trend of his game. And long course, wide open fairways, he might be seeking a little bit of redemption this week. So at 65-1, I love Cameron Champ. And then, as you say, Lanto Griffin just finished great at the Wells Fargo, finishing a tie for 6th. That got him into the PGA Championship next week. So he's got to be feeling confident. You know, good putting and birdie stats, and just outside the top 30 in approach on the tour, which I know is going to be important this week. So again, you know, a good price for a guy that's won in Texas before.
And you have a guy that's a really long shot here, 130-1 odds. Tell us a little bit about Luke
I love this.
I cannot believe that he is 130-1. Like, I think that when you look at the guys that have been playing solid, consistent golf this season, Luke List is up there. And, you know, we saw him win the Farmers Insurance Open, that tussle between him and Will Zalatoris. But listen to these numbers. 8th off the tee on tour this year, 4th tee to green, 13th in approach. And he's at 130-1. He had a really good start at the Wells Fargo last week and shot 74-74 at the weekend. But as I said, the weather was so bad that, you know, you can almost see that as a little bit of an anomaly. But I could not believe it. So as soon as I saw him at 130-1, I jumped on that right away. And there's a lot of discrepancy. You have to really look around because I saw him way lower than that on some sites. But yeah, I found him at 110 and at 130-1.
Yeah, 80-1 over at I think MGM, 90-1 at FanDuel. So again, you shop these numbers. I mean, I'm looking at 130-1 right now on DraftKings. I'm about to throw about 10, you know, at least $10 on this one. Great stuff. So, all right, matchups. You know I love my matchups, Diane, and I can't let you go without throwing you the one that I really like this week. So we talked about Jason Day. We were texting back and forth about him on Friday because he had this unbelievable opening 2 rounds at Potomac, but then he kind of tailed off over the weekend. He did finish, I believe he finished in the top 10 still, but still, you know, after having a 3-shot lead heading into Saturday, you would have expected him to be, you know, if not winning it, at least in the top 3 or top 4. But he kind of tailed off a little bit. And this week he's paired in a matchup against Davis Riley. And probably I haven't really heard about Davis, or I didn't know who he was until I did some research on him this week. But he's a top 5 driver on tour. And Jason Day, that's not his game anymore, is off the tee, 120th in driving. Riley's top 25 in putting and birdie average, which is going to be very important this week. He's got 3 top 5s in his last 5 starts. He was great in Mexico at the Zurich Classic as well, and he had a top 5 at Valspar. Meanwhile, we talked about the weather at Potomac last week, all up and down the eastern seaboard. It was miserable over the weekend. Jason Day's got that bad back. He had 4 really tough rounds in rain-soaked, cold conditions. Riley's never played this course before, but Jason Day's only played it once, miscut last year. I think plus money, Davis Riley over Jason Day is a good bet. What say you?
Do you want some insider information?
That's why we have you on the show, right?
Davis Riley has played this course many, many times before. Davis Riley and Will Zalatoris used to live together in Dallas. They're best buds. They played at the Zurich Classic in New Orleans together a few weeks ago and finished third. So yeah, Davis Riley is a Dallas guy. He has played TBC Craig Ranch a lot. So this could be a real week to shine for him. So I would 100% pick Riley over Jason Day. I'm actually now mad at myself for not picking Riley as an outright. But yeah.
There's still time to get your card in. It's only Tuesday.
He's going to know this course well. Let me tell you that.
That's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. Diane, one more thing before we let you go. I want to hear about Ryan Palmer finishing in the top, just your top 5 and top 10 finishes that you're betting on heading into this weekend.
Yeah, I like Ryan Palmer, 14-1 for a top 5 finish. He actually holds the course record at TBC Craig Ranch of a 62. It wasn't in tournament play, but, you know, it's been a little bit of a mixed season for him. 3 top 20 finishes, but he lives nearby. He's a whole Texas guy. So I like that, you know, with his supreme course knowledge at 14-1. And I'm staying on that with Sung Kang. Now, he burned me last week because I had him as I think a top 5 for TBC Potomac because he'd played well there before. But at 40-1 for the top 10 this week, I really like, for one reason and one reason only. He's a member of this club. This is his home club. So when he's at home chilling, you know, not playing on tour, this is where he goes out and he gets his practice done. And he's going to know this course course better than most. So I just thought, again, course knowledge, and at 40-1 for the top 10, I kind of like that.
Yeah. Wait, that's crazy.
And,
it's his home course. So
I'm missing one huge thing about Kang. He won this tournament in 2019. It wasn't at this course, but he won the Byron Nelson in 2019. So again, like Homa last week, you're going back to a tournament that you won before, albeit on a different course, but you have all those good winning memories, and the good vibes can help.
I like it, Diane. Thank you so much for coming on today. Love a good home course advantage. What they say, home court, home course. You love to see it. I think I'm going to tail you on that one, the Sun King. It's going to be really exciting. Okay. Thank you so much for coming on, Diane. Have a great weekend. Best of luck with your bets. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you.
Jared, we're taking it from the course to the court. Let's head to NBA because we got two exciting matchups. We've seen some really good games recently from some of these teams. We have the Sixers Heat series tied at 2-2, heading back to Miami for this one. And then we have the Mavs Sun series tied at 2-2, heading back to the Footprint Center in Phoenix. So it's going to be really interesting to see which teams kind of get the edge here over the other ones. The Heat, we've seen since Joel Embiid coming back, kind of struggling offensively. It's basically just been a Jimmy Butler show for the Heat. They need to get other guys rolling here heading into Game 5. And the Sixers, you've seen what Joel Embiid's been able to do. I know you wanted to chat about this a little bit. Does the fact that Nikola Jokic winning the MVP give Joel Embiid a little bit more of a fire heading now into Game 5 to want to show people what he's capable of doing? Because for a while, he was the favorite to win the NBA MVP.
Yeah, it's a fascinating question. I don't know the answer. I know you think he's an athlete. He doesn't think about this stuff. He doesn't look at this stuff. And that's a very fair and valid take. The other side of that argument is he's what, 20? How old is Joel Embiid? Like 26? Like he's not very old. 26. Like he's not like, right? I actually don't know how old he is. I'll look it up.
I'm Googling right now.
Yeah, like I would be shocked if he's over the age of 30. He's definitely under 30, no doubt about that. 27, 28, I mean, somewhere in that range.
He's 28, probably. March 16th, 1994.
All right. When you are around that age. I don't know how old you are, but
I'm 29.
You're under the age of 30. We're not fully mature. Like we have a lot of growing to do. I'm 36. I'm not fully mature. But I have a feeling that there is at least some thought that has gone into the fact that Joel Embiid feels snubbed. Maybe he wasn't snubbed. I don't want to get into the debate of who should have won MVP. It's over. It's done. We move on to what's happening today. I would be shocked if there isn't some thought in his mind that says, screw all those analytic MVP voters. And let's be honest, they voted for Jokic because of the analytics. I'm going to show them what what I can do. Like, to me, that's how my brain would function. I know I'm not a professional athlete, but I'd be surprised if there wasn't just a little bit of screw you vibes with Joel tonight. Maybe that means you see his props at the bottom of the screen there, 25.5 points, 11.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists. The reason why I'm a little bit on his points is because the total is very low in this game at 209. And I know you like the over, but still the odds of a lot of prop points going over, I think, is a little bit tougher. But the rebounds, if it is a lower total game, a slower paced game with a lot of bricks, and let's be honest, Miami's offense, not very impressive in Game 4. The rebounds could be the one I would look to. It's a hustle stat. So to me, I think Joel Embiid, I'd like to get a slice of him tonight. I just don't know how I want to play it. I'm curious your thoughts if the chat wants to chime in as well, because I think Embiid is going to have some kind of motivation in his corner tonight, aside from just, it's the playoffs, we need to win.
Yeah, I feel like if you're looking at a Joel Embiid prop, it should be a rebound prop, not necessarily a points prop. Just because he's been living in the paint going up against a guy like Bam Adebayo. Bam has had his hands full trying to defend a guy like Joel Embiid. But what a difference MVP talent makes in Joel Embiid in game 3 and 4. He hasn't had a ton of attempts shooting, but he's put a lot of pressure on the Heat defense. He had 23 free throw attempts because of the Heat's like switch heavy defense, mixing it with their zone scheme. There's mismatches for him on every single possession. Also, James Harden finally showed up in game 4, 31 points, 9 dimes, 7 boards. For the Heat, though, it's Jimmy Butler versus the world. He had 40 points in game 4, 33 points in game 3. The difference was Miami cannot hit a shot from beyond the arc right now. And I think they were like one of the third best team during the regular season in 3-point percentage. Right now they're shooting 20% from 3 in game 4. And Bam Adebayo, like I was saying, has his hands full trying to defend Embiid. Victor Oladipo was the only other Heat player in game 4 to finish in double digits. Miami has to pick it up offensively. I think being on home court's going to help them out a little bit. I think they're going to improve offensively, shoot numbers like we're used to seeing. The over is a really good play here, in my opinion. It's 209.5. It seems extremely low. And I think the Sixers output at this point is going to be similar to what we've seen the last few games, especially now that a guy like Joel Embiid is back. I'm taking the over in this spot. I like the Miami offense to get rolling. They need to get some rebounds, like a little bit more, because one of their biggest strengths is getting out in transition, fast break points. Their half-court offense is okay when they're hitting shots, but when they're not hitting shots, they're not finding a lot of success. So they need to be able to get rebounds, get out in transition. It's going to be really, really important for them. But I also think that the home crowd's just going to fire them up. They need more from guys like Tyler Hero, et cetera. They need more guys to be hitting shots, but I don't think that they're going to have another 20% game from beyond the arc here. I think we're going to see them hit more shots. And then if the 76ers just show up how they have been showing up here in game 3 and 4, this total is going to go easily over 209.5. It just seems extremely low to me at this point. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the totals in general, and we saw it with the Bucks Celtics game last night. That was the first game of that series that has gone over. And we were one game late on the over. We bet the over in game 3. We missed it by a couple of buckets, almost had overtime. Game 4, again, the theory of that series is the adjustments will be made and there will be some more wide open scoring. I think, and first of all, the chat's got some great points here. J.A., take the points. He will shoot more because he won't have that much help on the road. And that is an interesting hypothesis, because if you looked at what game 3 and game 4 was for the Miami role players, awful. They did nothing. So now back at home, and then Glenn underneath, Duncan Robinson on the bench making $18 million. Great point. I don't know where. Can we get like a quick put of
1 minute? 1 minute this series. 1 minute. How? Where is he?
This guy has been unbelievable in prior postseasons, but not so great in this postseason, and he hasn't played. So there are some interest. And again, this is why the discussions are fascinating around the NBA. It is a narrative-driven league. The narratives so far have been the home teams have had better role player play. And the road teams, it's the stars that have to step up and had to play better. So I'm fascinated to see how the Philly role players played tonight. That's why I'm definitely staying away from the Embiid assist prop and any number that includes assists, because his assists haven't been there in the series. And on the road, I don't expect the shots to go in from the other guys to give him those assists. So if you're going to play Embiid tonight, to me, points or rebounds or points and rebounds would be the way to go. And I agree with your overtake. I do think the totals have dropped now to a point where we have to consider playing the over, even though the vibe of this series has been 90s basketball, rough and tumble, not a lot of wide open spaces. But again, when the numbers drop, even though it's an ugly contrarian play, you've got to look to the over. My favorite word.
Yeah. I know. Got to look to the over, contrarian play. I'm actually taking 2 overs as I look at the Mavs Sun series at Footprint Center. So last game finished 111 to 101. So if my math is correct, that total is 212. Right now, the total is set at 213 on FanDuel. But you look at the last 2 games at Footprint Center. They're going back to Phoenix. Both teams shot the lights out. Both games finished at 235 total and 238 total points. Now, the Mavs started playing their shutdown defense at home in Dallas. Is that because they were at home? They had their home crowd. They were feeling a little more fired up. Is it because other guys were kind of showing up besides Luka? Who knows? The Suns right now are averaging 117.2 points per game at home this postseason through 2 rounds. The Mavs are averaging 109.2 points per game on the road this postseason through 2 rounds. If you add those two numbers up, that total's going way over 213 right now. The total seems extremely low with the average numbers being the way that they are. I think that the Suns are going to get back to shooting the way that they do. I think they're going to put up a lot more points than we've been seeing. I know everyone's like, oh, Chris Paul, he's looking, he fouled out last game. So early. So people are like, oh, Chris Paul, he's tired. He's 37, whatever. Dude's vegan. Dude's going to show up at home. He's a veteran. He knows what he's doing. I know Devin Booker's dealing with nagging injuries. You're at home again. You have the adrenaline, the fans behind you. I'm telling you, playing at home does something for these guys mentally. I don't know what it is, but it does something for these guys mentally. So I'm taking the over 213 here, Mavs Suns. It's hard for me to bet a side because I just don't know which Mavs defense is going to show up in this game. So the total seems like the safer bet for me. So I'm going over in both of these games. Your thoughts?
All been under.
Oh, I didn't hear you for a second. It cut out.
Oh, that's okay. I've got a lot. There's a lot of noise going on all over the place today. I got the stupid construction going on outside. You got dogs barking. We're all over the place. It's a crazy day here in the sports betting world. I'll add one thing to the Miami-Philly game just really quick. James Harden was so good in the last game. If Harden and Embiid played like they did in Game 4, I think the Sixers are going to win this series. Put that on your tape and put that in your pipe and smoke it over the next 2 days. We'll see what happens tonight. The other thing I wanted to make about the Phoenix-Dallas series is I think the scales are starting to tip in favor of Golden State to win the West. We've been on Golden State to win the West for quite some time now. Thank you very much, Brian Scalabrine. I know you're like, Jared, how does that make sense? Why does the Golden State team have any impact on the Suns Mavericks series? Well, I'm going to tell you right now. So Phoenix is a veteran team. I know Chris Paul's vegan, but he's still almost 40 years old. And this Suns team has played a lot of.
He's your age.
Ugh.
He's your age.
Don't age me like that. I'm younger than Chris Paul still by 1 year. I give 1 year on Chris Paul. So the Suns are a veteran team. They were in the finals last year. They've played a lot of basketball over the last 2 seasons. And I think, especially postseason basketball, which takes a heavier toll than just a regular game. The longer that the Mavericks-Suns series goes, right now it's 2-2. It's going to go at least 6. It could go 7. If the Warriors wrap things up tomorrow night, and they're sitting at home all, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and Phoenix goes 5, Phoenix goes 6, maybe Phoenix goes 7. With each passing game for the Suns, I like the Warriors more and more in the next round. So the question that I'll pose to you in the chat, at what point should we be adding to our Warriors Western Conference Finals position the more the Suns kind of fumble and fimble away what this is Mavericks series and it goes longer and longer? I'm starting to think that if the Mavericks maybe keep it close tonight, maybe just win, maybe if the Mavericks win Game 6, I'm thinking about adding to my Warriors position. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that actually is really interesting because, he is 37. He is a veteran. Devin Booker dealing with some nagging injuries. I do like that. And not even just because he's a little bit older and because there's nagging injuries, but it's just because the wear and tear that some of these postseason games take on these players' bodies. You see how physical it is. I even just remember watching the Hawks Heat series up close and just seeing the physicality of the teams and how hard they were playing on a guy like Trae Young. And it's like, you see it through the TV, but even watching it in person close up, it's like, wow, these guys are getting after it right now. So it's the wear and tear on the body, the physicality of these series, and just tired, heavy legs. You're playing a lot of games in a really short amount of time, especially if these games or these series are going to 6-7 games. I would feel more comfortable if the Mavs win tonight. I it's hard for me to see a path where the Mavs win tonight. I really think the Suns are going to come back at home and win at Footprint Center, but the Mavs could have a good opportunity to win Game 6. Yeah. So I'm not going to put money on that right now. I think I'm going to wait to see how Game 5 turns out. But then you might not get as good of a price. So I don't know how I feel about it, but I do agree with you to a certain point.
Might shock you tonight. Do you want some splits from MGM?
Yeah.
The splits at MGM are eye-opening. 91% of the bets tonight are on Phoenix. 95% of the handle. Like, you almost have to pay somebody to bet on the Mavs tonight. It's insane. So I wouldn't lay it with Phoenix. Maybe they cover. Maybe they
It's because we saw how they played defensively the last 2 games at Arizona at Footprint Center. They didn't have a defense. And then offensively, Luka Doncic was outscoring his other starting 5 by 10 points. I think he had 80 points through 2 games, and the rest of the starting 5 combined had 70 points. So it's just what Dallas Mavericks team is going to show up in Phoenix. We'll see tonight.
Yeah.
Who knows if they're going to be able to carry their defensive intensity and then also offensive intensity back to Phoenix. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But we will see how it all plays out tonight. Let's take it from the court to the ice, a little bit colder of a setting. Before we get into some of our bets for tonight, pucks on net. What the puck? You know what I'm talking about? We're going to give over or under.
Oh, that's a great name for that segment.
No, this is my segment. Now that I'm doing TikToks every day, I'm doing TikToks every day of my best NHL bets, and I'm calling it What the Puck. That is mine. I'm coining it. Trademark. Restricted.
Names.
Sorry. No, I came up with it. Well, Zeno helped me with that, but we came up with it together.
Great.
What the Puck?
That is great.
Yeah. So we're doing pucks on net. We're giving. Pucks on net. We're doing a 15-second lean, not things that we're necessarily betting. I actually am betting 3 of these today, so I will give those picks in a little bit. I'm not going to give reasons why. It means you have to keep listening and know why I am on 3 of the overs. So first one, I'll go to you first. Boston, Carolina, over under 5.5 in this spot. It's actually moved up to 6 here.
How can I not take the over? Every game in this series is decided by 2 goals, so.
And every game has gone over so far. So
2. One of these teams is getting 4 tonight. I have full faith in that.
Yeah.
I'd go over here.
Yeah, and I'm also on the over. I'm actually betting it. I'm not giving any reasons why. You got to keep listening to hear why. Tampa Bay, Toronto, Jared, over under 6.5.
Over. The winner of the series is 2-2. Each winner has scored at least 5 goals. How can I not bet the over in a series where the previous 4 games, the winner has scored at least 5? Tampa Bay scored a touchdown in the last game. They covered this over by themselves. Over.
Yeah, I'm actually betting the over. These are actual things that I have 1 unit on heading into tonight. So I'm on the over too. Keep listening to find out why. St. Louis, Minnesota, over under 6.5.
This one feels like the under to me. Now, the margin of these games, that's been the story of the NHL playoffs so far. I know you guys are losing a lot of overtime bets, but the real story of this of this season has been the margin of victory of these games, which is over a goal higher than last year's first round. So the Blues, their first 2 games, they won +7 in their scoring margin. The Wild won the next 2 games, and they said, screw your +7, here's +8. So again, the margin of victory is why the overs have been so popular. They're pulling the goalies early. It's wide open play. I think now that we're getting to the later stages of the series, things will start to tighten up, especially in this series, which is 2-2. I'll go under Minnesota, St. Louis.
I don't think so. I think it's going to go over, and I actually bet a full unit on it, Jared. So I'll tell you why in a second. This is the only total that I am not betting today is the Kings Edmonton Oilers over under 6.5. What do you think?
I mean, game 1 was 4-3 over.
Yeah.
Then the last 3 games, the numbers in these playoff games have been wild. The margins are 5, 6, 4 goal margins in these games. So it's really hard considering how wide open it's been not to immediately look to the over. And I think if I was betting, I'm not betting any totals tonight in the NHL, but if I was betting this one, I would bet the over.
I'm just going to pass on this one. Honestly, I haven't been watching enough of this series to even kind of like even get a feel for how these teams are playing. I'm in bed by like midnight. So I haven't been watching enough of this series.
You're a party animal.
I know. No, like during this Hawk season, I've been staying up so much with the late travel nights. I'm just trying to get back into like a routine, somewhat of a normal sleep schedule, Jared. And that's why I'm stressed about this Suns game tonight because it's late. I can't be jeopardizing my health.
And I'll make sure you're okay.
I do watch some of the recaps in the morning, but it's just been I've been watching so much hockey and so much basketball, but some of these late games, I can't do it anymore. I can't. I will stay up for my abs though. That's the only team. Like last night I stayed up, and I will say I hit my abs bet. I hit my abs puck line bet. I said it was going to be a close game down to the wire, and then they were going to get a backdoor cover, and they're going to score an empty net goal. Guess what happened? Backdoor cover, empty net goal. Can we just talk also really quick about how Cale Makar is an absolute dude? That dude's such a dude. He's the dude of all dudes.
I watched that game last night. I was really hoping for overtime, but no,
we're not hoping for overtime. We want them to win their puck line. So
now they're into the next round, and I've been prophesizing for weeks that it was going to be Colorado and Calgary, and it might still be that. Calgary had a big win last night too. My Flames, our Ice Cats too, pulled one out. I don't know how they pulled that one out.
Yeah.
Down 8, tied it, scored. But for real, like there's people that follow us every day, and there's people that watch this show every day, and the consistent vibe is Lauren's hockey picks are must-tails. So I don't think we should stop that.
Besides my Rangers 3-way money line bet yesterday. God bless.
Listen, you're not going to win every bet. I mean, you had 4 consecutive plus money pods with NHL 3-way money lines. You're not going to win every bet you make, but you're winning more than you lose, which is important.
Yeah, that's true. It's a true statement. Okay, I'm going to let you go through your 2 puck line picks, and then I'm going to run through just my whole gambit. I have like 8 bets, so you go first.
I'm going to go really quick here because Lauren literally might take the next hour to tell you about all of her hockey picks.
I'll get through it quickly. Don't worry. I'll get through it quickly.
Puck lines that I feel like are the best chance of hitting tonight, the 2 teams that I think have the best chance of winning at home. And I'm taking the puck lines because, again, what have I said? Let me pull up my handy-dandy spreadsheet. The average margin of victory, thank goodness I'm tracking all of these, right? The average margin of victory in this first round of the playoffs is 3.19 goals. Compared to last year in the first round, it was 2.09. That is a full goal plus difference. And, the first round's almost over. Like, the results are not going to get that much lower. This is going to be a first round where the scores are a little bit wider than maybe the experts think. Alternate puck lines have been very profitable, but we're just going to say 2 plus money puck lines tonight with 2 home teams that I think have a good edge, and we hope that we at least split the pair, and that will result in profits. Canes -1.5. All 4 games of this series have been decided by 2 goals or more. So I feel pretty good if the Canes win, it's going to be by a 2-goal plus margin. And the Oilers, listen, when the Oilers score and when they win big. That's been the vibe of this series. And to me, I think that's where I'm leaning tonight with Edmonton at home. Again, not crazy, analytical handicaps here. Just we've seen a lot of scoring in the playoffs. The average margin of victory has been wide, and I expect that to continue tonight at home for Carolina and Edmonton.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so I'm just going to run through my gambit of bets that I have. So 2 bets on the Bruins-Canes game. 2 bets on the Bruins-Canes game. I like the over 6, and I like the Canes 3-way money line. People say that it isn't a series until the home team wins. That means that this series is just getting started. The home team so far is 4-0 in the series, and Carolina won the first 2 games by a combined margin of 10-3. Boston rebounded with a 9-4 edge. Now, the Bruins top line stepped up in game 4. This is something I said I needed to see. I won my Bruins 3-way money line bet the last game that we saw the Bruins play. Their top line stepped up after not playing great through the first 3. They had 4 goals and 6 assists in game 4 between Patrice Bergeron, David Pastrnak, and Brad Marchand. Marchand finished with 5 total points. For prop bettors, this is just like a fun fact, nothing that I'm betting right now. Carolina has scored the first goal in each of the first 4 games. So if you wanted to maybe look at something like that for a prop bet, why not? Boston right now is without their top 2 defensemen and Charlie McAvoy and Hampus Lindholm. The Canes without Frederick Anderson and Jake Gardiner and Jordan Martinook. Both teams have used 2 goalies now through first 4 games. Rookie Jeremy Swayman he won his both games at home for the Bruins. This is going to be his first postseason road game in his career. And a couple trends to look at. Oh, the over is hit in each of the first 4 games of this series. That is why I like the over. Both teams offensively are figuring it out. And now that the Bruins top line has it figured out too during game 4, I think they're going to continue that momentum here in game 5. The winning team in each game has scored 4 or more goals. The losing team hasn't scored more than 2. Home ice advantage has been a real thing through 4 games. I'm thinking about maybe parlaying the Canes money line with the over with how the trends are going, but I did bet them separately at this point. So I like the Canes 3-way money line finishing at home. We haven't seen very many games go into overtime. I think there's only been 3 overtime games so far throughout the postseason, which is pretty crazy. So I think they're going to do it in regulation, and I like the over just because of how trends have been going, and all 4 games so far have hit the over. Okay, moving on, trying to keep my thoughts all straight here. Moving on to the Leafs Lightning series. This is back in Toronto. I like the over 6.5 in this spot. And I also like the Tampa Bay Lightning money line sprinkle. Screw the sprinkle. We're going to do a full-on money line. Will the Leafs move on for the first time since 2004 out of the first round? Who knows? Will Tampa Bay win their 9th consecutive series in a postseason over the last 3 years? Who knows? The Lightning have had bad games in game 1 and 3 and great games in game 2 and 4. They've drawn 32 penalties. They've had 28 penalties taken themselves. Neither team right now is great on the power play. I think that Tampa Bay is like 13% on the power play, and the Leafs are like 10% on the power play. It hasn't been great. 5-on-5, though, has been pretty good. But the Maple Leafs are going to want to use some of the home momentum. They need a bounce-back performance game from Jack Campbell. He gave up 5 goals in game 2 and 5 goals in 16 shots before being pulled in game 4, which, by the way, just a quick side note, I cannot believe Igor Shesterkin was pulled again for the 2nd straight game. Crazy. Anyways, back to this game. Yeah, I know. He has a save percentage in this series of .889 and a -1 goals saved above expected. I think it's very, very similar for Tampa Bay too. But it's hard to tell from this series who's going to win. Will the Leafs have enough emotional stability at home? Plus money, that's why it's tempting for me to take the Lightning in this spot. The over is hit in the last 3 games. With the offensive explosiveness that both teams have, I really like the over, and the goalie struggles, and 2 empty net goals for each side in this series. The numbers show that the Lightning have been the better team all series. They've controlled the 5-on-5 play in game 4. They've had the 55% advantage here. And the 3rd time in 4 games that they've had the better even strength numbers. For the series, Tampa Bay has had 14 or more high danger scoring chances that the Leafs have had. They've also had the advantage between the pipes and on the blue line. And the top scoring threats are outproducing Toronto right now. So the line should be more of a pick-em to me in this spot, especially because Tampa is 8-5 on the road in their last 13 playoff games. The plus money value on the champs, I'm taking that. And I'm also taking the over 6.5 just because of how the total's gone in the last few games. Okay, last series that I'm looking at here.
Are you tired? Do you need a break? You need a water break?
Water.
Take a break here. I mean, I know I talked for a long time. This is impressive. I think you're breaking an LBI record here.
I honestly think so too. I'll go quickly in this one. Okay, the Wild taking on the Blues. I like the over 6.5 here and the Wild 3-way money line. These teams have both been alternating blowout victories. Each game has been decided by 4 goals or more, and neither team has won consecutive games at home. This is shaping up at this point to be a 7-game series, in my opinion. But the total is the best thing to focus on in this game. These 2 teams combined for at least 7 goals in 6 of their last 8 meetings. Binnington looked good in game 4, but he struggled during the regular season. He only has a 90.1 save percentage in 37 starts on the season. Now, the Wild bounce back Tuesday. I mean, I like the Wild in this spot. Like, today's Tuesday. They're going to bounce back. It's probably going to be the right time to play.
Tuesday? They didn't do it.
It's Tuesday. I just like that it's Tuesday.
On Tuesday, we got the Wild.
On Wednesdays, we were pink, and on Tuesdays, we bet the Wild. St. Louis has been growing with their defensive injuries. Nick Leddy missed his 3rd straight game. Robert Bortuzzo missed his 2nd straight game. They both skated yesterday. They both could play today. Marco Scandella, he left the game game 4 with a lower body injury. He's ruled out today for game 5. Torrey Krug is also out, and he's going to miss some time with his injury as well. So just with the injuries that St. Louis has on the defensive side, I feel like the Wild is a good spot here at home. There's explosive offenses on both sides. The over is cashed in 5 of the last 6 Blues Wild games. Minnesota is also very, very good at home this season. They're 15-3 in their last 18 home games. Something to know. The total has also gone over in St. Louis, 12 of their last 15 games on the road and 6 of their last 8 total contests. So I like the over here in this spot with the offensive power that both of the teams have. And I like Minnesota at home, 3-way money line. They've won 15 of the last 18 at home. And with the defensive injuries at this point that St. Louis has, I like Minnesota to take this one at home. They're going to go up in the series. It's going to be interesting to see how all those play. So, overs in all 3 of those games. Canes 3-way money line, Tampa Bay money line, and Wild 3-way money line. I had to read over my sheet just to even remember all of the bets. There you go. That's my whole...
Yeah, you're going to have to put out a tweet or something with all these picks because I'm
going to put out a tweet.
For sure.
I'm going to put out a tweet. That's a lot to bet on. Okay, let's go to Pickswise.com. Jared, give me a break. Give me a break. Who do we have for our 3-star play today?
Give me a break. Give me a break. Break me off a piece of that 3-star play. Canes 3-way money line. Does that sound like a familiar bet?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what Tyler Moore does. We also have Kyle Lupus is betting on the Twins-Astros game. We have Keith. Oh, yeah. So Keith Schmelter deserves a special shout out. Last year, you recall, his 3-star plays were off the hizzy, as the kids say. I would definitely look to tail Keith's total bet in the Marlins D-backs game. And Diane's got her bets for Byron Nelson on there as well. And we gave you the shout for Ricky Diamond yesterday, the Rome Open. You ever been to Italy before?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, Rome, beautiful. So he's got 2 picks for the Rome Open. And how about this from our producer Jack from the top rope? Congratulations, Keith Schmelter. So the dude was giving out 3-star winners in baseball last year. He just graduated college. You want to talk about young, fresh legs?
Yeah, he's a smart man.
Keith, on your graduation, but I mean, you graduated the sports betting game a long time ago, sir. So go to Pickswise.com, check out all of our 3-star plays from our very talented, knowledgeable handicappers on Pickswise.com right now. Go do it now. Go do it.
Go do it right now. Pickswise.com, 3-star play. Okay, let's give it our best bets before we get out of here because this show is a long show today. Who do you got for your best bet of the day?
I wonder why it was a long show. Lauren just took in a whole hour talking about NHL bets. Very worthy, very, very worthy time well spent. All right, I struggled with this like I do every day because I give out all these bets and I have no idea which one's really the best bet. They're all good bets. But I'll give you Martin Perez under 4.5 Ks because of all the projected numbers that I'm seeing on FanGraphs. Perez has the biggest delta, the difference between what his actual number is and what his projected number is. 4.5, he's projected for only 2.8. In his last 2 starts, he's gone 7 innings in both of those starts. That sounds really good, right? He's only struck out 4 guys of those starts. So again, the outs, the length is there for Perez, but the stuff, the domination, the swing and the miss stuff is not there. And he doesn't have good numbers against this current Royals lineup, who have only struck out 14% of the time against him, and they have a 306 batting average against in almost 80 plate appearances, which isn't a gigantic sample size, but it's nothing to sneeze over either. So to me, when you look at a guy that has good stuff or has good length because he's lasting long time, but he's not really striking out a lot of guys, and he's facing a lineup in the Royals that doesn't strike out a lot against lefties, I feel like this is a good number to stay under. So we're going to go Martin Perez under 4.5 strikeouts. I got this number at FanDuel laying about 32 cents. I apologize if it's moved since the show. It probably has because we gave it out about 45 minutes ago when we did the MLB segment.
Yeah.
But Perez under 4.5 Ks.
I like it. I really do. I'm looking for my best bet of the day. one of my hockey bets. Why not? The Bruins-Canes over 6 in this spot. So you look at the series total. There's been a total of 26 goals scored. That averages out to 6.5 goals per game. The over has gone, or the total has gone over in all 4 of the games so far this series. And the winning team in each game has scored 4 or more goals. So I like the over in this spot with the way that both offenses have been playing. The Canes are without Frederick Anderson, and Canes are without Frederick wow, thank you, Frederick Anderson.
Got it. Yeah, you can do it.
Like, I'm losing steam right now. I'm like, holy crap! I've got a lot of
you've had quite the show. You've had quite the show.
Jeremy Swayman is going to be playing in his first road postseason game. Who knows how he's going to show up? But just because the trends. The over is hit in all 4 games so far. Let's follow the trends. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. 6.5 goals per game so far on the series. 6 over. Lock it in. Let's make it happen. That's it. That's it for us today, Jared. That's it for us. I need to go take a nap now. Find us on Pickswise YouTube channel. Go to Pickswise.com. Follow us on Twitter. For Jared Smith, I'm Lauren Jbara. Best of luck tonight, you guys. I'll be tweeting out all these hockey bets. Don't you worry. Your pretty little minds. Okay. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.